In this lesson, we will learn how to work with the macro and schedule editors. Open my first project, Empty Page. Click on Windows and open the Macros and Scheduler window. Now we will create a list of linkers to use with macros and scheduler. Click on Linkers and Devices and open the group view. Select the desired links and drag and drop them to the Loads table. Now let's prepare the interface for the end user. You can click on a display name and replace it with a user-friendly name. This name will be the name that the end user will see when he is working with macros and scheduler. Now you must set the user interface type. This will tell the end user what function he can perform. In our example, the first linker is a dimmer. Dimmers must be set to %8-bit. This type allows the end user to set values between 0 to 100%. The controller converts these values to a range of 0 to 255. Now let's set the type for the on-off lights and the set point temperature. You can also set minimum, maximum, and step size values for things such as heating and cooling. Now let's schedule some events. Select the Scheduler tab. Click on Wall Dimmer. Click on a field under the scheduled date and time. Enter the desired hour and minutes. Now click on Set. To set the value, click on the Value field. Enter the desired value. Mark the Enable checkbox and click Save. Notice the scheduled event is displayed in the Already Scheduled Events table. Now let's schedule a sunset-related weekly event. Click on Weekly. Select the right light. Click on a field under the scheduled date and time. Click on the days you wish the event to occur. Now set the time to 15 minutes. Mark after sunset. Now click on Set. To set the value, click on the Value field. Notice that the interface type here is on-off as we set up in the Loads table. Select the desired value. Mark the Enable checkbox and click Save. Notice the scheduled event is displayed in the Already Scheduled Events table. To disable an event, clear the Enable checkbox and push Save. You can re-enable the event at any time by marking the Enable box and pushing Save. To permanently delete a scheduled event, click on the relevant scheduled event field, select Clear, and click on Save. Now let's work on the macro. Open the graphic page named Empty. Select System buttons on the Graphics palette and place 2 macro buttons on the graphics page. Let's give these macro buttons an ID name. We will name them Party and Good Night. Let's use the System Macro Editor to set loads and values for a party macro. Select the Macros and Scheduler window and open the Macros tab. Select the macro whose ID name is Party. To add loads to the macro, select the desired loads from the Inactive Loads list and click the Add button. The system allows you to use any load that has been entered to the Loads table. To set the desired value, click on a load and use the blue up and down arrows. To set the delay, click on the green up and down arrows. The delay is the time gap from the beginning of the macro sequence to the triggering of the event. So far we've seen how to set up the macros and schedules from the Maestro Designer. Now let's see how the end user can work with the macros and scheduler editor from the device. We will use the web control feature for this demonstration. We will use 2 page flip buttons for this demonstration. The first page flip button is set to flip to the setup page. The second page flip button is set to flip to the scheduler. Next, we will download the application to the device. Select the Device Editor tab from the Linkers and Devices window and enter the Maestro IP address to the host field. Click on Download Project. Now click OK on the first pop-up window. Now we see the Persistent Storage pop-up window. When we select Delete Persistent Data, the macro and scheduler setup from the Maestro Designer will override all of the setups on the Maestro device. When we select Do Not Delete Persistent Data, the macro and scheduler setup from the Maestro Designer will be ignored, leaving the device setup unchanged. This option allows you to download changes to graphics and logic without changing the macro and scheduler values that the end user set up on the device. We will choose Delete Persistent Data. Click Yes to save the project. Now let's open the Internet browser. Enter the IP address of our device in order to access web control. Now enter the username and password. For more information about web control username and password, see Chapter 8.4 of the User Manual. Web control uses Sun Microsystems Java. Always make sure that the latest version of Java is installed on your PC. Let's see how the macro works. Click on the left macro button. Notice that while the macro is performing, the macro button displays macro running. Now we will edit the macro. Push and hold the macro button for 3 seconds and release. This opens the macro editor and allows us to edit the party macro. We will change the value of the left light to off. The macro editor will immediately send the new value to the load. This allows the end user to immediately see the actual results and save when he is satisfied. Now click Save and Exit. Now we will change the state of the lights and check the new macro setting. Now we will edit the scheduler from Web Control. Click on the Scheduler Page Flip button. Select Wall Dimmer. Click on the Value field. Use the green arrows to adjust the value. Press OK, Save, and Exit. Now we will see how to access the System Macro Editor and the Scheduler. Click on the Setup Page Flip button. This opens the System Setup page. The System Setup page is accessible through both Web Control and the device. Under Main Actions we see Macro Edit and Scheduler. The Scheduler opens the Schedule Editor. The Macro Edit button opens the System Macro Editor. This enables you to edit all of the macros in the project. Please note that the System Macro Editor, which is accessible through the System Setup page, allows you to view and edit all of the macros of the project. The individual macro editor, on the other hand, accessible through a macro button, edits its own specific macro. Another difference is that the System Macro Editor, which is accessible through the System Setup page only, does not send the new values to the load. This allows you to edit the macros without changing the environment. Please note that the Macro Edit button is only operational on the device and is not operational through Web Control.